Vita. The word means life, but for Sony, it's arguably dead. Their second handheld PlayStation has to be considered a huge disappointment, standing only over the Sega Game Gear in the arena of mainstream portable consoles. 3 years on from its launch, and it's rare to see one in the wild. And if you want to buy one, games for it or accessories, good luck to you.
But is this a fair assessment? I mean, if you're a Vita owner right now, you're probably venting fire. But don't worry, calm down, we get it. The system might not be popular, but it's brilliant.
Launching in the West back in February 2012, the Vita won acclaim for its build quality, operating system and launch lineup of software. Critics praised the potential of remote and cross-play functionality, but were put off by two important issues.
First, the biggest at the time, the least relevant today, the price, which has dropped down to pretty reasonable levels.
Second, the lack of internal storage, meaning you've got a hidden extra cost of having to buy memory cards if you want to download games. And of course, those are only useful for the Vita, rather than something more ubiquitous, like say an SD card. So that's annoying.
Although it launched well, the Vita's key weakness has always been its lack of software. I mean, compare it to the Nintendo 3DS, it's always lacked those memorable exclusives to really draw players in.
Yeah, there's games like Uncharted and Killzone, but these big-budget home console wannabes don't feel comfortable on the small screen. The games we've enjoyed the most on the Vita are actually the smaller ones. Indie downloadable releases like Nidhogg or retro classics like Grim Fandango feel perfect on the go, while the PlayStation Store's library of PS1 and PSP games are sometimes stronger here than they ever were on their original consoles.
And that's because the Vita is so well designed. The original is big, sure, but it's weighty enough, and it's made with nice enough plastic to feel good in the hands.
When you play on the Vita for the first time, you'll likely be impressed by how modern it feels. Connected with a PlayStation account, the live area interface is complete with your friends list, trophy collection and messenger service, with cross-platform voice chat enabled seamlessly through the built-in microphone and speakers. With mobile gaming in mind, it's got a good battery life and fantastic pause and standby features for when play is interrupted.
The only downside, especially in comparison to the 3DS, is how vulnerable this thing is. I mean, it doesn't have a flip case, does it? It's easy to take a break from the software, but really you need a case and a couple of seconds to put the thing away. I use a sock. In you go, little baby. That's not ideal.
Since launch, the system has only shifted around 10 million units worldwide, with about a third of that number coming entirely from Japan. In the US and Europe, it's easily the worst performer of the current generation, a situation that's unlikely to change anytime soon. Despite several price drops, the Vita is still perceived as expensive, and the lack of big must-have games has left the brand without an identity. The tragedy is, the console's commercial failure has caused uncertainty about its future, further putting off an audience who might otherwise really enjoy it. Thanks to cross-play and remote play, it's a fantastic companion to a PS4, and thanks to Sony's recent push towards indie titles, it's got a growing library of bite-sized hits that fit neatly onto a handheld. 3 years on, the PlayStation Vita feels as if it's starting to find its groove. Sony's attempt to brand it as a super-powered portable home console may have backfired, but now the air's had time to clear. Its strengths are obvious.
The Vita is a casual console for a hardcore audience. It's feature-rich in the ways that matter, and there's an interesting array of titles to choose from. The Vita certainly is not dead for many people. In fact, in the right hands, it's very much alive.